This is Joy News Prime.
This is Joy News Prime, and my name is Israel. Stay tuned as we bring you all the news that's news in Ghana and beyond. Coming up, Public Utilities Regulatory Commission blames new billing software for numerous complaints of overbilling by customers of the Electricity Company of Ghana and orders the company to suspend its implementation until further notice. The Deputy Majority Leader in Parliament is meanwhile accusing ECG of deliberately undermining President Mahama with this overbilling of customers. Schools and offices shut down following massive flooding at Akosombo in the eastern region.
And in business, Standard Chartered Bank's head of global and financial market reiterate calls for government to expand the manufacturing sector.
And government optimistic striking judicial service staff would call off their action by close of work on Thursday. Also in this 2-hour bulletin will be sports, entertainment, and Joy News Interactive. The bulletin is available across Europe on London-based ABN television. Stay tuned. Now, very first story, Majority Chief Whip Mohamed Muntaka Mubarak is accusing the Electricity Company of Ghana of undermining President John Mahama's quest to end the erratic power supply situation which has bedeviled the country for the past 4 years. His charge follows numerous complaints by customers in the last few months about overbilling by the ECG. Speaking on the floor of Parliament Tuesday, the Member of Parliament for Asawase said reports suggest that in several cases the cost of consumption has more than doubled, and this has imposed undue hardship on virtually all Ghanaians, especially on the ordinary masses.
Mr. Speaker, the complaints have come from both lifeline consumers and other categories of consumers. Reports suggest that in several cases, the cost of consumption has more than doubled, and this has imposed undue hardship on virtually all Ghanaians, especially on the ordinary masses. It has come to my notice that where some individuals has complained to ECG, the errors in their billing were corrected and the problems were somehow resolved. But for the majority of consumers, the overbilling still persists. Mr. Speaker, it has come to my notice that the overall effect of this is that the effort of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to permanently solve the long-standing power crisis is severely being undermined, and the crisis in the supply of electricity is being deepened. Mr. Speaker, my information reveals that the following are some of the causes of the problem. A. Errors in the billing of the newly installed prepaid meters. B. Administrative lapses due to poor supervision of technical officers by their superiors. C. Deliberate effort by some unscrupulous ECG officials to take advantage of the new billing arrangement for personal gains. D. Overestimation of bills by consumers on postpaid meters. Mr. Speaker, on account of the above, I wish to recommend the following. A. ECG should take immediate steps to correct the technical errors associated with the meters. B. Public Utility Regulatory Commission should work with ECG to review the fault and restore the lifeline state for the underprivileged. C. ECG should take urgent steps to give individual households a meter instead of a compound house with a meter or two, hence not benefiting from the lifeline subsidy for the poor. D. In cases where consumers are overbilled, arrangement be made for ECG to either refund the excess payment or credit the accounts of consumers so affected. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Power should be invited to brief Parliament on concrete steps he intends to take to prevent the reoccurrence of this crisis in billing.
The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission is meanwhile giving the Electricity Company of Ghana 10 working days to correct anomalies with its billing system, which it says is at the heart of the numerous complaints by its customers. ECG is also facing sanctions for going ahead to implement the new billing software, even though it had been warned against it. The PURC has in the meantime asked the company to suspend the implementation of the new software, which is used to work out the bills of mainly credit customers. The PURC's Public Affairs Director, Nanaya Dantua, tells Joy News that directive follows numerous complaints by both credit and prepaid customers of ECG, but explains the focus for now is the credit customers, who make up 70% of the clientele.
But the complaints that were coming were outrageous. Because, for instance, we have a complaint mechanism, a complaint process. Every year, when it comes to overbilling, we get about, when you do your calculation of the 100% complaints that you get, about 18 to 20% are overbilling. From March till now, 62% overbilling. So then we noticed there was a problem. So then we said that let's deal with the problem. So we investigated, we went around, we went to Kumasi, we went to Takoradi, Accra here. We parts of Koforidua, we are now asking them to do Volta region. I mean, that was enough for us to know that there was a problem.
Right.
Because where a consumer has been paid, has been billed from 2015 to 2019.
How is that possible?
That is it. So it's a billing software thing. So you see, when you as a consumer, you get that kind of bill, you might not even be able to interpret the nitty-gritty of the bill. What you are interested in is the end product, the net result. And the net result might be a certain figure that is outrageous. There's some, for this one, for instance, about 300,000 Ghana cedis. For a consumer who was consuming, paying 50 Ghana. 300,000. So suddenly you know immediately it's an anomaly.
All right. And you're saying that these problems happen to pertain to credit customers?
Yes, mostly credit customers.
So people who consume before they pay their bills?
Yes, people who consume before they pay their bills. Normally, you see, with the deployment of the prepaid meters, you have complaints about, I purchased my unit and everything got finished. I did this and that. With the credit metering, we've never had complaints. It's only the normal complaints that I think ECG overbilled me, one or a few people. But this one, it was mass. Because normally credit meters, you don't get complaints like, for the prepaid meters are new. You hear all manner of complaints that you go in and you deal with. But with credit meters, we never had complaints. So when the complaints started coming, we became suspicious.
Right. Now, what's the proportion of customers when it comes to those using the credit meters and those using a prepaid?
The credit meters are about 70. If a prepaid is about 30%, let's say 70. So the credits are more.
They are in the majority.
Yes, they are in the majority. There are more people using credit.
I actually thought that ECG has been phasing out these credit meters.
They are phasing out gradually, but there are more people using credit meters. They haven't phased out completely.
So which areas? Because here in Accra, I believe just about everybody is using...
It's not everybody. Some people are using credit meters. Ashanti region, with the exception of some parts of Kumasi, even some people are using credit meters.
How about the other regions?
All of them.
They're using credit meters?
Yes.
So this prepaid thing is just here in Accra?
Accra, Kumasi mainly, but we have it some in Takoradi as portions, but it's not that wide. So that's why they want to deploy more. But we are saying that even they have 9 meters. I mean, that is another time to talk about it. Because after we finish with this one, we're also going to get data for the prepaid meters to investigate all these. My units are vanishing, things are this, I bought this and I couldn't get the units required and all that. So now we're going to take the meter by meter and interrogate everything, the software, how it is done, everything.
All right, so for now, your directive is that they should suspend the implementation of the new billing software.
Yes.
What is this billing software?
It is a software that is used to get data from the system to bill you. They had it before. That was the old one. And this is the new system they have introduced. It's like any software. I think, to promote efficiency. Certainly, if you introduce a new software, you intend that it is better than the first one. But what you normally have to do in rolling out any new mechanism is for you to do a pilot. We asked the ECG to do a pilot before they rolled it out. And for some reason, I think they didn't think it was necessary to do that.
Can they disregard you like that?
No, because you see, because they didn't expect that they will face these challenges.
Yeah. But you told them.
Yeah, we told them. Yes.
That they should do a pilot first.
Pilot first.
And they didn't.
I don't think they took it seriously because they thought they could roll it out.
What did you do about the fact that they were not taking you seriously?
No, because we didn't know.
Well, that didn't mean that you were not monitoring, or
no, you wouldn't. No, you didn't know if you don't have challenges. Do you get me? You wouldn't know if there are no challenges because let's assume that everything went well, and there were no complaints. So it's like your little boy at home. Yeah. They can play pranks, and it's not everything that you see.
Now that you realize that
we are going to punish them on that one. That one is also waiting.
For disregarding your directive.
For it to get to this point.
What sort of sanctions are they likely to face?
Oh, the law decides what sanctions, and the commission also decides which one to give them. But for this one, if they breach it, because it involves a lot of consumers, the commission has decided that they'll look into the law and apply the most harshest of them. Because we've given them timelines to do certain things. If they do those things that we are asking them to do, fine, Eureka. Then everybody will be okay. We go to the normal bill. We say they should rebill. Inside the rebilling, it means that whoever has paid above their consumption should be given back units, like they did with the retrospective billing.
Now, you have, in the past, not too long ago, you threatened to sanction them again for overbilling.
No, that wasn't for overbilling. That was for faulty meters.
For faulty meters?
Yes.
How have you settled that one?
No, we have done that. So now, gradually, they are replacing most of the faulty prepaid
Did
meters.
you sanction them?
Yes, we did.
What sort of sanction?
We have penalty units. I don't have it offhand, but penalty units, we use some of the penalty units in the law to do that. So we sanctioned them. That one, we did it. You see, the law also says that once you give them an order, you have to give them a time frame to respond. If they do not respond, the next one is the sanction. 40 meters.
For 40 meters?
Yes.
How have you settled that one?
No, we have done that. So now, gradually, they are replacing most of the faulty prepaid
Did
meters.
you sanction them?
Yes, we did.
What sort of sanction?
We have penalty units. I don't have it offhand, but penalty units, we use some of the penalty units in the law to do that. So we sanctioned them. That one, we did it. You see, the law also says that once you give them an order, you have to give them a time frame to respond. If they do not respond, the next one is the sanction. So the law does not allow us, so we want to change some of these provisions. The law does not allow us to immediately sanction them.
The Commission says customers who have been overbilled by ECG would be credited with the variance. Meanwhile, the 2016 New Patriotic presidential candidate Nana Akufo-Addo has called for an immediate reduction in electricity tariffs, arguing they are too high compared to what pertains in the West African sub-region. In an audio statement released to the media on Tuesday, the NPP flag bearer blamed taxes imposed by government for the high tariffs. He compared electricity tariffs in Ghana to that of Côte d'Ivoire to justify his claims.
Take a note of the recent, I believe it's today's statement by the PORC, the Electricity Corporation of Ghana should suspend its software billing system. But I think that the matter is more fundamental and should go further than that. If you look at the rates that we are charging, industry as well as domestic users, for electricity in Ghana, compared, for instance, to Côte d'Ivoire, already it puts our enterprises in a very uncompetitive comparison. Ghana, my understanding is that the tariff for commercial users is 32.6 US cents per kilowatt hour. The Ivorian equivalent is 13. Again, domestic, residential users, we're talking about 19.28 US cents per kilowatt hour, when the Côte d'Ivoire equivalent is a tariff of 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So you put these things together, and already Ghanaian industry and economic activity is suffering. unnecessary. And a large part of it is due to the taxes, this insatiable appetite that the Mahama government has for taxes. I believe all of these figures can be significantly reduced to be able to bring the electric tariff system in our country into a much more competitive relationship with that of our neighbors and what's going on in the region.
Watching Joy News Prime, we're taking a break at this point. When we come back, we have more stories lined up for you. Please stay tuned. The Ghana Bar Association has asked government to expedite action on matters relating to the implementation of the consolidated salaries of members of the Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana, JUSAG, as it appeals to the group to call off its indefinite strike. A statement signed by the association's president, Benson Nuchukwu, described the recurring practice where labor issues are left unattended to as unfortunate. JUSAG declared a nationwide strike on Friday, May 20, over what it says has been government delay in paying its members' consolidated salaries. GBA said it was concerned that the underlying cause of the strike, which has to do with implementing the consolidation of salaries of JUSAG members, has been long-standing and should have been definitely and conclusively resolved much earlier than now. The statement said while the GBA sympathizes with the cause of JUSAG, the association is nonetheless concerned about the course of action and the unintended yet grave consequences of the strike. It is therefore appealing to members of JUSAG to resume work while they empower their leaders with the moral authority to conduct the negotiations and pursue their legitimate claims on their behalf. Well, staying with the JUSAG strike, the Labour Relations Minister, Employment and Labour Relations Minister, is hopeful JUSAG will call off its strike by close of day Thursday. The minister tells Joy News this was the outcome of a meeting with the leadership of the judicial service workers on Tuesday. He tells Joy News that he assured the leaders that some firm commitment from government should reach them by Thursday.
You have met with the workers. Are they ready to call off the strike?
Government is very mindful of the implications of the strike action by judicial service workers on liberties, individual freedoms and human rights, and its implications for businesses and governance generally. And therefore we have been engaging the leadership of JUSAG. I briefed the Judicial Council yesterday, which further made an appeal to them to call off the action. The understanding we have is that by close of work on Thursday, I'm confident and optimistic that the action would be called off so that the wheels of justice and the delivery of justice and its administration can run effectively and efficiently with their full participation, but subject to some clarification that they have demanded from the government negotiating team. We clearly will make a distinction between a category of the judicial workers, level of directors and deputy directors, whose problem is basically one of restoration. I believe that we can deal with that much more expeditiously with some assurances and guarantee. There's a second category of about 5,200 workers that we have to re-examine and look at the consolidation of their allowances and salaries vis-a-vis our ability and the capacity of the economy. That will be the second leg of it. But we've agreed that between now and Thursday, they would themselves indicate to the public their readiness to get back to work. So you probably will want to find out more from there.
So that means they are still not satisfied?
I'm sure this question is better answered by them. For us as government, we will do our utmost best, our best effort to contain the strike action. I believe that they would respond positively to the appeal from government and from the Judicial Council itself. I understand that the National Labour Commission is in court, rightly and probably because they are on strike. If they are not, I'm sure that will be re-examined accordingly. I look forward to a permanent resolution of the matter, and if you don't mind, I can walk you through the process. If you read Article 1582 properly, it says that Judicial Council shall, with the prior approval of the President and in consultation with the Public Services Commission and by a constitutional instrument. So it means that we have to walk through a certain legal process to meet all the prerequisites. But for them, it's a bread and butter matter. Should you further delay their demand, should you further delay what they are asking for within the context of the law, I'm sure we would accommodate each other halfway, and then we would manage and get out of an imminent crisis that can cripple governance and the administration of justice in the country. And once that is restored, I'm assuring the public that we will. We are committed to the principle of bequeathing to them consolidated salaries, but certainly we don't intend and we will not negotiate them out of the single spine pay policy, which is government public pay policy, to which we remain very committed.
The phenomenon of schools under trees in Ghana is probably not new to you. We have heard too many of such stories, especially at the basic level. However, in Adaklu in the Volta region, senior high school students take lessons under trees as well as sleep in classrooms.
Esinam Komla Ado's parents live in Accra, and she has come to Adaklu for a secondary education. She is one of about 200 students in Adaklu Senior High School who gather under trees each day to get an education. She tells me what she thought when she first saw the school.
I was very annoyed and it's like I wasn't comfortable here. Even though I was here, but my heart wasn't here. I felt like I should go back.
The school has struggled with infrastructural deficits for years.
Learning and teaching is not going on well, as we are not having classrooms to sit in. When it rains, we go home.
We don't have water on campus, and after school we have to go to town and go and fetch water, and that takes a lot of time. Before you come, they may ring the bell for supper and you may be buried. They will not even listen to your problem. On Saturday like this, you do Saturday work and you have to go to the town and go and fetch water, and where the water is and the school is too far, so it takes a lot of our time.
It was one of 50 shortlisted for a World Bank project to rehabilitate some of the poorest schools in Ghana. A 3-classroom block, which should have been completed in 2014, is still under construction.
We don't have a dorm. It was first a classroom. That's what we used as a boarding house. So they said they are now building a boarding house for us.
I want government to reconstruct the school buildings for us, the classroom for us, so that we can be sitting comfortably in classroom and provide us the laboratories so that everything will be possible for us to learn.
Meanwhile, in July 2015, government broke ground on a Community Day Senior High School for the district. The 11 million Ghana cedi project comprises a 4-story block of 24 classrooms located on a 25-acre plot of land donated by traditional authorities. Teachers of the school refused to speak to Joy News on camera for fear of victimization. They, however, told us that they find the situation quite curious, wondering how the existing school fits within the new plan for secondary education in the district. Some suggest that perhaps Adaklu SHS should be closed down and students transferred to the Community Day SHS when it opens. Nonetheless, the state of Adaklu SHS certainly begs the question: does government genuinely want to address the lack of educational infrastructure in this district, or is it just scoring political points? In the meantime, the ambitious students are stoic, keeping their chins up and dreams alive.
I want to be a lawyer.
I want to become a medical doctor.
I was told that some people made it from the school. So I'm sure that whilst some of them have made it, I can also make it.
For Joy News, Jahunyan reporting.
Right, time check 7:32, and John Omako is here, and he's here to bring us business news. Good evening to you, John.
Good evening, Israel. And now it's time to do some business and find out what is exactly going on in the business community. And here, Global Head of Financial Market for Standard Chartered Bank, Jonathan Paul, has reiterated calls for government to immediately initiate steps to expand the manufacturing sector. He believes this is crucial to sustain the economy. Ghana's import increased from over $3.4 billion in the third quarter of 2015 from $3.2 billion, according to figures from the Bank of Ghana. Speaking with Joy Business, Jonathan Paul charged government to ensure reliable power supply and a stable currency to benefit the economy.
I think manufacturing needs to expand here. I think the country is too import dependent now. The fact that the cedi weakened over the last several years obviously makes imports more expensive, so that's going to be one factor that helps. However, I think at the same time, there needs to be a focus on building, manufacturing base here, and a key part of that is to ensure that there's a reliable supply of power at a reasonable price to allow businesses to be competitive with imports. So I think the first step has happened, that the currency now appears to be at more or less the right level, and you can see it's stable. I mean, it's hard to say what the right level exactly is. It appears to be stable. Those are the facts at the moment. It's stable. I think the power issue is a very important first step into help getting manufacturing going here. And I agree with the implication of your question that building manufacturing will create jobs, will also reduce the dependency, improve the trade balance, reduce the dependency on imports, less pressure on sourcing dollars by the government. So all in all, it's going to be a very positive thing if the economy can transition to more manufacturing, and maybe as a hub for West Africa.
He also emphasized the need for government to consciously take steps to bring the country's debt to appreciable levels.
It needs to be brought under control, and that's part of the policy that the IMF has. Part of that is to bring down the amount of debt to GDP and also the cost of debt. So once the central bank moves very clearly to inflation targeting, then that will create room for local interest rates to come down, and that will potentially significantly reduce the cost of debt in the local economy, which I think is probably, even in CDs, is more important than what the government pays in US dollars in the offshore market, because that's affecting people who run businesses, the cost of your mortgage, all of those, the borrowing that people do domestically. So I think that's the reason I'm as optimistic as I am, is because I see local rates coming down. Probably not before, I'm guessing not before the election. You'd have to get through the election, but by then we should start to see the results of the IMF program.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, schools and offices at Akosomo in the eastern region remain shut on Tuesday after flooding in some parts of the town. Residents have described the floods, the result of a downpour on Monday, as the worst in the town's history. The Sujaman District Security Council is set to meet the Volta River Authority to review the redevelopment of the area. But let's hear first from some affected residents who were rejecting relief items provided by the National Disaster Management Organization and want more to be done to address the flooding problem.
I was sleeping on my bed, feeding my baby. I slept far, so I couldn't realize how the water came to the room. I just got up from the bed, no, my foot was in the water. So I realized that my extension board was on the floor. So I quickly went to put it off so that it will not electrocute me. So, in fact, I was confused because I didn't see the water coming. I just got up and the water was in the room. So, what else? Nothing. I was just standing there. My baby too was on the bed. It came my mattress. We slept on it. There was water on it, but what else? We are 4 in the house. 2 slept in this house, and then I and this boy slept on the wet bed.
So where are you going to sleep tonight?
I don't know. It will be in the same room. I've washed the room, but the mattress, there's water on it still, and it's heavy. I don't know how I will lift it up.
Does it mean you are going to sleep in the open today as well?
Oh, yes. So thank God that they have brought the mattress. At least I will lie it on the floor and then sleep on it.
And looking at here?
For that one, I can't tell because I learned when it rains heavily there, then it means that all the gutters will be flooded and then it will come here. When it reaches here, we don't have anything to do.
In fact, school closed around 2. I'm a teacher in town. So before school closed, the rain started. And then when it subsided, we were waiting to close the children. But before we said Jack, because it was already past 2, most of them left. And then when they left, we, the teachers, also came back. We came to the rooms over here, to our houses. But when we got home, it was very, very bad. The whole new quarters got flooded, serious flooding. That, man, you cannot step in. I stepped in because my daughter and my mother-in-law were locked up in the room. You see, my in-law was a caretaker, locked up in the room, and the water got flooded to my waist. How can that be in this area? You see, VRA will never come to the rescue of people living in new quarters because they are not VRA workers. Is that the best way we can handle this situation?
And then, so what exactly do you want? What do you think will finally address this perennial flooding here?
Well, if you talk about addressing the perennial flooding, then I'll talk about they expanding the gutters. You understand? The drains are too small to contain the water that flows in them. Because the water is from Combine. You understand? There is an area called Combine. And the water is from that place flowing downstream. Okay? And that is how come this area got flooded. And these gutters were constructed years back in Kwame Nkrumah's time.
At least 3 people have died in Western Kenya during opposition protests calling for electoral reforms. Their statement said police in Siaya shot dead 2 people in self-defense. A 3rd man in Kisumu died from a head injury after falling over while running from tear gas, reports AFP news agency. Last week, there were complaints of police brutality as officers were pictured assaulting demonstrators in the capital, Nairobi. This is the 4th week of protests over the Electoral Commission. The opposition Court Alliance wants the current members of the Electoral Commission to resign ahead of next year's presidential election. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has blamed the new billing software for numerous complaints of overbilling by customers of the Electricity Company of Ghana and ordered the company to suspend its implementation until further notice. The Deputy Majority Leader in Parliament is meanwhile accusing ECG of deliberately undermining President Mahama with its overbilling of customers. Schools and offices have remained shut following massive flooding at Akosombo in the eastern region. In business, Sanchez, head of global and financial markets, has reiterated calls for government to expand the manufacturing sector. Now, the Presidential Advisor on Corruption and Governance says government has made more effort at fighting corruption than any other in the country's history. Speaking to Joy News' Manasseh Azuriawuni, Daniel Batidam says President Mahama is exposing corruption and ensuring that those involved are prosecuted. Despite being confronted with several untouched cases of corruption, Mr. Batidam insisted the ruling government deserves credit for sustaining the fight against corruption.
There is a difference between political will to fight corruption and political enthusiasm. Sometimes leaders come into office. I agree with you, don't get me wrong, that the posture of a leader is important. The posture of a leader, if people are scared because they believe that this leader is somebody who will deal with them or whose government will deal with them when they are found wanting, it's important. And I don't think our president is short of that, because we know, anybody who has been in Ghana knows that this is perhaps one of the few times in the history of our country that a sitting government is taking steps to expose corruption, to prosecute where possible officials. You know, you've cited the JIDA, but the other side of it is that there are officials, including the former head of the JIDA, who is being prosecuted.
Who is being used as
the president cannot determine the outcome of the prosecutions, and I think that is where sometimes we. But if you will allow me, the point I want to make is that, yes, the kind of examples we give of countries and leaders who come and are seen to be fighting corruption because they are saying, go and arrest this fellow, put this fellow in this. Ghana has gone through this before, by the way. We have done this before. The problem is not about enthusiasm.
The military regime?
Yes, we have had this, we have passed through this.
But Buhari is not doing that arbitrary. He's doing it with the laws that are in place.
I think you are, if we did that in Ghana, and we have gone through that, in Ghana, if you came in a new government, even under this democratic dispensation, you started telling people to proceed on leave and all that, you might be construed to be witch hunting. That is an important dimension. That's why I was making.
Even if you are right, if you are doing the right thing.
Well, witch hunting doesn't mean that they are actually witch hunting, but the fact is the perception, and that is the point.
So do you care about doing the right thing or succumbing to the perceptions?
The right thing is important, whether you are perceived to be witch hunting. The point I want to make is the sustainability of it, and the sustainability of it is where you then come to exhaust dealing with the former ones, the former public officials, the former corrupt officials, and you have to deal with the ones of your own time. And that is where I think we must give credit to our president, and we must give credit to this government.
Why?
Because it is not easy. It is historically not done for a government and a president to, be initiating or instigating the institutions that to investigate officials involved in things that...
Which ones does he initiate?
Well, you know.
I don't know.
You do know. Even the JIDA and things you are talking about are not, even if they were not initiated by government, government had to take actions when the issues were brought to the fore. The NSS, the National Service thing, was initiated by government through the agencies. We can discuss, we can debate that.
Executive Director of the Institute for Democratic Governance, Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, is warning that the country could explode if the turbulence that characterized the recent limited voter registration exercise and by-elections are not well managed. Dr. Akwete also warned that the inflow of arms into the country must be taken seriously, since mercenaries wouldn't be hard to find if there's an explosion and political parties decide to use violence to win power.
If you look at our election campaigns, and you look at the language, you look at the use of media, something the police and parties and so on have talked about. You look at the sheer levels of aggression and the campaigning and the tools and the instruments that are used and so on. We've all ended up feeling we are so polarized. We are so divided. Our differences are showing, whether it's ethnic or regional, and so on. So there are concerns about how things have been. In fact, there is fear of the forthcoming election is as palpable. You feel it when you're talking to people as it has always been, especially in the last, since 2008, when we should be enjoying elections and feel its opportunity to influence public policies and influence leadership choices and so on. People are afraid. Around us in the sub-region, the environment is very conducive for explosion.
Police Director General in charge of Operations COP Christian Tete Yonu, who represented the IJP, called on political parties to furnish the police administration with names of personnel they are comfortable with for immediate training and deployment to provide security for candidates and their running mates.
Everybody that needs a bodyguard has to be comfortable with the person that should guide you. As I'm here.
You know how polarized our political climate is.
But that is the nature of our work. We are working together to make sure that this is not the first time. This is not the first time we are giving protection. And I tell you and I can assure you that there has never been any police officer after going through this process of providing guard and security and coming back into the mainstream that is observed in any way. Because this is what especially the police administration has put in place. It is not the policeman's own choice that I have to go and give a protection to any particular person.
Dr. Akwete has given you some bashing, if you like. He said the police, you know, one way or the other, you are not acting.
We need to talk about it. Let's go.
All right, Ms. G, good evening to you once again.
Okay, good evening.
This time you're here with entertainment.
Exactly, okay. And let's start with Grace Naughty.
Sure.
Yesterday
let
I
it
told
flow,
you.
let it flow, let it flow.
Okay, the time will come when I give you time to show your rap skills. Because today, I'm changing my level of rap.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, when the time gets there, you get to find out.
All right.
All right, but let's talk about Grace Naughty. You know, I told you yesterday that she won the Women of Honor Excellence Award in the Arts at the just recently held maiden edition of the Glitz Women of Honor Award. Yeah. Now, guess what she says to the youth?
Study hard.
Oh, really? Like, seriously? Anyway, she has a lot of, you know, good advice for the young actress. After talking about her awards, she tells them to dress decently.
Happy today. The way they said Women's Award, that's what gladdens my heart. Because the women, we make homes. So I'm happy that they've recognized we women today and they have awarded us. I started at the age of 30-something and I'm heading 80, and yet I'm acting. And I keep on giving the young girls advice. This evening I told some of them that humility carries a man far away. With humility, you can go far, far, far and far. And then the young ones should respect themselves for others to respect them. The way they portray themselves, they are braziers and all that, I don't like it. That's one thing that worries me a lot. And I'll keep on advising them till I die.
All right, so Gary is here.
Yes, I am.
Well, I indicated you were going to come in. Here you are.
Yeah.
All right. Midiama FC, what's happening to them?
Well, they had the draw of the CAF Confederation.
Who are they playing with?
They are playing a Tanzanian team, an Algerian team. The Algerian team that kicked Ash Gold out.
All right.
They are meeting them, as well as TP Mazembe.
What do you make of their chances?
The cameraman said,
I just take it away.
Well, so it's a tough draw, the toughest they could have, actually. And the Ghanaian representative in Africa, Medeyama, have been given a draw. The draw was done today in Cairo, in Egypt, and it was for the group stage. Now, the interesting thing is that they will be playing Yanga FC, who are a side in Tanzania. Also, the thing about Yanga is that they are coached by former Heart of Lions coach Hans van der Pluim. Hans van der Pluim was in Ghana for about 10 years, and also they'll be playing TP Mazembe as well. Now, the Moves and Yellows reached the money zone of the competition after edging out South African champions Mamelodi Sundowns. So those are the 4 teams in that group, Medeyama of Ghana, Yanga, as well as TP Mazembe and MO Bejaya of Algeria.